Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But this show is going to be specifically towards Afghanistan and TTP and its involvement in nefarious activities in Pakistan. We will trying to decipher different angles of it all, from the near past to the bit distant past, understanding what the whole prerogative or the philosophy or aim of the TTP to destabilize Pakistan comes from or emanates from. On the same hand, we also have a country like Afghanistan, who we have been helping so much in the last few decades, but unfortunately, despite Pakistan's repeated requests to curb the nefarious activities of militant outfits such as the TTP from its soil into Pakistan, has gone basically to deaf ears. How can Pakistan maneuver now under the current circumstances? We will be handling different aspects of it, whether it be the latest in which Mohammad Nabi Umari, Deputy Interior Minister of the interim Taliban government in Afghanistan, had made the remarks of the TTP and Pakistan getting together for negotiations, which of course Pakistan has ruled out through a proper statement from the Foreign Office. Whether it be other countries also that are now urging Afghanistan to curb its nefarious activities, including the United States of America. We'll try to understand what the importance of these different players are and how can these militant outfits finally be curbed. We've been joined by a very eminent panel of guests. Let me introduce them to you one by one. On my very right is Brigadier retired Masud Khan Sahib. He's a defense analyst and a regular to my show. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us. Our second guest joins us after quite a bit of a hiatus. Dr. Syed Akhtar Shah Sahib, former Home Secretary and Inspector General of Police. Thank you very much, Shah Sahib, to have joined us. Such a pleasure to see you after a long time. And finally, Salman, Javed, Afghan affairs expert, who also joins us in the studio, I think for the first time in my show, if I'm not wrong. Let's begin with Brigadier Masud Sahib. The statement by Nabi Umari, Deputy Interior Minister of the Afghan Taliban government, makes remarks asking the government of Pakistan and advising the brothers, quote unquote, of course he was referring to TTP, who are fighting with them, to come together and talk. He, however, does not address the presence of TTP in Afghanistan. Why not? Why again? Not the first time that they have asked for Pakistan and TTP for talks, and look what happened the last time.
Thank you very much for giving me this time to discuss this important issue. First of all, they are still denying the presence of the terrorist organization inside, despite the fact the presence was confirmed by the United Nations Analytics Support Sanction Monitoring Team last year. This year they again confirmed the presence of the various terrorist organizations and terming the TTP is a serious threat to Pakistan's stability. And then the CENTCOM chief Janak Kurila, while appearing before the Senate committee, and he then said TTP is a serious threat to Pakistan's stability, and he also talked of ISK and other terrorist organizations as a threat to the region. And subsequently, Tom West, the special envoy on Afghanistan, the United States, he frequently referred the terrorist organization inside Afghanistan. Then the Linda Thomas, the United States special envoy sitting in United Nations, she described the presence of terrorist organizations. And subsequently, our own Asif Durrani, frequently he highlighted the presence of the terrorist organization, their source of funding. And then our ambassador at United Nations, Munir Akram, also highlighted the presence of terrorists. So and similarly, the Russians, the Chinese, and also these Shanghai Cooperation countries, the regional countries, every country is conveying their concern, the presence of the threat not only to Pakistan, TTP, the threat to the Central Asian states, threat to the Chinese, and recently we saw what actually happened in Moscow, the presence of with the Islamic State, Khorasan, they claim. So it is this basically they are in a denial mode, basically, and we know and we have given them the irrefutable evidence of presence of TTP hideouts inside Afghanistan, whether it is Nuristan, it is Kunar, it is Paktika, it is Khost, it is Zabul or Kandahar. So they are present there. Even today, the fresh alliances, as being reported, the alliance with Hafiz Gul Bahadur group and the Lashkar-e-Islam group, and recently attack which was executed by the Hafiz Gul Bahadur group. So the presence is, but they are in a denial mode. basically international community is well aware of the presence of these terrorist organizations. So Afghanistan has become an epic center of terrorism, is threatening not region but the threatening international peace.
All right. Syed Shah Saab, Pakistan has ruled out talks with the TTP. Mumtaz Hara Baloch, who is the Foreign Office spokesperson, says Pakistan expects the Afghan authorities to take urgent action against the terrorist outfits and their leaderships for crimes that they are committing and terrorist incidents that they are responsible for in Pakistan. She adds, Pakistan remains committed to fighting against all the terrorist outfits that have targeted Pakistan and the symbols of Pak-China friendship. A, how important is this statement for clarity? And B, I'd refer to what just Brigadier Saab said. How long can the Afghan interim government remain in denial mode?
The statement is very clear. There is no ambiguity at all. And Pakistan has expressed its resolve to fight terrorism and reminding the Afghan regime, the Taliban regime. They are also under international obligation. They have signed the Doha agreement with the United States of America. And under that agreement, they are bound that their territory should not be used against any country for exporting terrorism. So under that even Doha agreement, they are not only morally but also legally bound to take action against such terrorist groups.
But they are not doing anything.
But if they are not doing, then of course now you see this terrorism and violence. It has become one of the basic determinants of the national policies of different all countries rather, and most importantly the superpowers. So this time this Shanghai cooperation organizations, the meeting on 3rd April in Astana, it was very, they have also declared that it will have far-reaching consequences as far the region is concerned. If they don't stop, the whole region will be it's already there is a destabilizing factor.
True.
And if it continues like that, then not only Pakistan, China, the Central Asian states, Iran, all, and even now it has been traced to the Afghanistan, to the IS, whatever happened in the Moscow. So if Afghanistan doesn't realize whatever had happened in the past and they don't learn from the history, then again one of the, then if not Pakistan, any other major power would again, under the pretext of hard pursuit, would then boots will be on the ground.
All right. Well, I don't know, but the things are going in that direction at least. Salman, you know, I'd like to refer to something that I've been asking and what they have been saying all along, that the TTP denies that it is the Afghan interim government denies that the TTP is using the Afghan soil. But at the same time, what I'm going to ask you is that they have been urging Pakistan to look inwards to address its internal security problems. This is not just once that they have said it. Many a times, this whole statement, Pakistan needs to look inwards. It is Pakistan's internal problem, not an Afghan problem. When everybody knows, when it's so apparent as, you know, like you in front of me, why then is no proper pressure tactic being used by international global bodies to stop these nefarious activities from happening?
I'll take from what our eminent panelists said before, that because I've said that they are in a denial mode. I would partially disagree from this statement, because denial is something when you would want to avoid some problem. It's there, but you want to avoid it. It's a created problem, self-created problem by the Afghan interim government. It was back in August 2021 when they took over Afghanistan. They had a chance to settle this issue once and all in the first few months. Pakistan approached to them, Pakistan not only, and this did not happen in isolation, that Pakistan is now taking a stringent stance. It's been almost 2.5 years that Pakistan is actually trying to reach out to them, have sent numerous delegations to them, religious as well as political, have carried out public diplomacy with the Afghan interim government. But to our disappointment, nothing happened or nothing been given no positive indication was given by the Afghan interim government, and that is why Pakistan is now resorting to such stringent tactics that Pakistan is now giving and shooting out these statements. The world forums, I think, like you mentioned earlier, that every other country has showed their concerns. Russians have showed their concerns recently after the ISK attacks in Moscow. Chinese have time and again
have shown their concerns.
Asked to settle this issue between Pakistan and Afghanistan. Then the Americans time and again. But the problem with the American statement is that it is more of a lip service. They are maintaining over the horizon strategy over here through their UAVs, but they are not doing very much an effective kind of coercion towards Afghan Taliban, because you see that they have political political engagements with the Afghan Taliban in Doha, Qatar, and at the same time they are peddling some dollars inside Afghanistan through their INGOs, and that is keeping the Afghan intelligence stable right now. So if you want to coerce a government, you have to put some stringent actions, stringent sanctions upon them, and then they will listen to you. Right now Afghan Taliban are playing a very deceptive role over here, and that is why they are saying this statement of that Pakistan should be looking inwards. This is the kind of plausible deniability that they are maintaining. So Pakistan need to expose this to the international forum, especially to the regional stakeholders.
But of course, it's a very interesting point that I'll highlight later in the show as far as strategic element of all of it is concerned, whether it be the US, whether it be other countries as well. Brigadier Masud, should there be a regional counter-terrorism strategy to counter these threats now that it is quite apparent that it's not just Pakistan that is the target of these militant outfits emanating from Afghanistan, but also Russia, but also other countries as well. China and the ETIM as also one other element that poses a serious risk. Could the SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, where of course an important meeting was held on the 3rd of April in Kazakhstan, where Afghanistan was also discussed, play an important role in that, maybe a joint counter-terrorism strategy of the SCO states?
Certainly, that is one of the possibilities. The 9-member SCO, but surprisingly, India is also a member of that. Well, and that was some very interesting statement made by the Ajit Doval. We will discuss it later. But these 9 countries, leaving aside India, everybody's stakes are very high. They are basically affected by the presence of terrorists inside Afghanistan, as you highlighted. TTP's focus is Pakistan, Eastern Turkestan Islamic Movement focus is China. Recently, they were replaced on the, when China opposed. So from Badakhshan, they have been placed in Baghlan inside Afghanistan. Then the Tehrik-e-Taliban at Tajikistan, the focus is Tajikistan. Islamic Movement of Uzbekistan is focusing Uzbekistan. Islamic State is focusing Central Asia, Russia as a whole, and Al-Qaeda again is the international agenda. And we have recently seen, and the recent report which says the United Nations report, Security Council, which previous report is said of ISK, no, they said Al-Qaeda is getting stronger with every passing day. They have established their bases in 4 new bases in the 4 provinces. So at the same time, they are also assisting TTP. Their Hakim al-Misri of an Al-Qaeda led commander was seen training the suicidal bombers in Kunar. So the threat is real. But importantly, in this SCO, they charge sheeted basically Afghanistan for the terrorism emanating from Afghanistan, including India. They charge sheeted. Even the Kazakh president also showed his concern of the terrorism, extremism emanating from Afghanistan. So, but at the same time, China can play a very important role because of the Chinese. They have accepted Bilal Karimi as the ambassador in Beijing. At the same time, they are also investing inside of Afghanistan. So, and Chinese can prevail. So, regional connectivity is through SCO, Russia. After the Islamic State strikes inside Moscow, the Russians can play an important role, and on Chinese as well as the Central Asian republics, they can play an important role, because the Foreign Policy magazine couple of years back carried a story and they said Central Asians and Indians are the new face of Islamic State. So now that has been proved with the recent attacks inside Moscow. So they can, but at the same time, look at the double standard of India. At the same time, they talk of cross-border double standards of other countries. Basically, they were referring it to Pakistan, Ajit Doval. But at the same time, he highlighted the terrorist organization in Afghanistan. He did mention Al-Qaeda, Islamic State, and two organizations related to Pakistan. They have no presence inside Afghanistan. He did not mention Indian proxies, TTP, BLA, and BLF. This is the double standards. And recently, we have seen the Indians at the Guardian. They carried the story of Indian involvement for extrajudicial killing, transnational repression. So, but still, SCO, the important countries, they can play a very important role to address the issue.
Syed Akhtar Shah Sahab, Defence Minister Khaja Asif blames Afghanistan for not making any progress to root out terrorism, calls for further tightening of border controls to mitigate the threat. He says, and I quote, in view of the increase in terrorist incidents, there is a need for a fundamental change in the border situation. When this is a border that Afghanistan has more or less never accepted in the past as well, what measures can Pakistan take to A, control the border situation, B, to emphasize on the Afghan interim government that this is a border and they have to accept it as it is?
Afghanistan may not be as far as their announcements are concerned, but we live in a world of real politics where we have, they have their own border security forces, we have our own border, and in practice they have accepted. They have no other choice. And they have to respect the sovereignty of Pakistan as well. We have already raised the walls and the wires, and so as far as the Defence Minister's statement is concerned, so we have to also improve the modern gadgets as far as the surveillance, the satellite systems are concerned. And recently, for instance, if we take this Dasus incidents, it has been traced to Afghanistan again. The truck was used, and it's being alleged that it was a non-custom paid. So it here brings also a fault line within us also. How a non-custom proves that still there is smuggling is going on in non-custom paid vehicles reach Balakand and these areas. So we have to be extra vigilant now on the borders and these routes. We have only, you see, Chaman, we have Torham, we have Ghulam Khan, 2, 3, the others are plugged. So we have to further tighten these areas as far as these areas is concerned. And having said this, the key in a counter-terrorism strategy is better intelligence. As far as this is transnational, you have mentioned that whether there is a need for a regional counter-terrorism strategy.
Yes.
Yes. Why not? Because if a head is here, the tail is there.
True.
If the tail is there, the head is here. And now the whole region has been engulfed. This Moscow incident, the Tajik origin, so it also bothers Tajikistan and others. So it's now a common concern of all the countries in the region. So they have to develop a mechanism where they can have intelligence sharing. And at times, of course, they are members of the international body, United Nations. So under the United Nations, they can have raise a common voice, and under the resolutions of the international law and United Nations, they can also conduct counterterrorism operation in the future if need be.
True.
So, of course, we have to tighten the security on the borders. We have no other choice.
That is, let's Salman, I'll begin with you. Let's come to the international statements that have come as far as TTP is concerned, as far as Afghanistan is concerned, curbing terrorist threats is concerned. And although these are for the moment mere statements, what is the strategic significance of it all, or if any? Let's begin with the US State Department that end of the March through Matthew Miller has reassured the global community of the US's ongoing commitment to prevent Afghanistan from serving as a base for terrorism. I'd like to quote what Matthew Miller said. I think it's a very important quote. We remain committed to ensuring that Afghanistan can never again be a launching pad for terrorism. How important is this statement vis-a-vis the recent, elements of militancy that and the, the incidents that have happened in Pakistan? B, you have recently, just in a couple of minutes back, talked about the US presence that is continuing in Afghanistan and how they are also financially helping the Afghans to sustain themselves. If that is the case, if they're also talking to the Afghan interim government in Doha, then why embolden the Afghan interim government on one end, and on the other hand say that you will never let Afghanistan be used as a launching pad for terrorism, when in fact it is the truth?
Well, United States, like Shah Sahab said, that we live in a world where real politics is actually being engaged, and United States is pursuing its own national interest. So definitely they would want to curb the remnants of terrorism inside Afghanistan. But they're more focused, if you carefully see their statement, they're more focused on ISK, they're more focused on Al-Qaeda, but seldom they talk about TTP, just like Ajit Doval. Ajit Doval did not talk about TTP at all, but the United States of America, they will, seldom talk about TTP, but not all the time. So this is a concerning pattern which Pakistan should highlight on the international forum, should highlight with the United States of America through diplomatic channels, that they should, with Pakistan, join hand with Pakistan and the regional countries and coerce Afghan Taliban, the interim government of Afghanistan, to clamp down on TTP's activities. Like ATM, they have been, relocated, like Vigir Sahab mentioned, from Badakhshan to Baghlan and some other areas as well. But those ATM factors or elements probably might be joining TTP, and they are carrying out those attacks inside Afghanistan on the Chinese interests now. So how well this strategy been used by the Afghan Taliban deceptively to engage those elements against the interests of Chinese inside of Pakistan. So this is something which needs to be catered, which needs to be seen. Other statements, like I mentioned earlier, that other regional countries like Russia and China, they are also concerned about the presence of terrorist organizations inside Afghanistan. Like we used to say that Pakistan is a melting pot of civilization, but Afghanistan, on the other hand, rather than becoming the heart of Asia, it is becoming the melting pot of terrorist organizations. So this needs to be addressed urgently, not by Pakistan only, but also the international forums, and clearly, with clear statements and with clear stance, not with the
ambiguous stance. Of course. Let's continue to talk of the US, Brigadier Saab. The principal deputy spokesperson of the US State Department, Vedant Patel, recently has said that we remain committed to ensuring that Afghanistan never again becomes a safe haven for terrorists who wish to harm the United States or our partners and allies. Now that he talks of partners and allies, Pakistan has been a partner and an ally for quite some time and continues to forge cooperation in different areas. If that is the case, if he talks of partners and allies, then that includes Pakistan. When it includes Pakistan, it means that the US is also looking for those elements that are destabilizing Pakistan. Then in that case, as Salman pointed out, and as you also pointed out a bit before, as far as Ajit Doval is concerned, why is the TTP or the BLA not being mentioned by these very countries when they highlight ISIK or Al-Qaeda as the major terrorist organizations that are emanating from the Afghan soil?
So there is a great game going on inside Afghanistan. So look at the way Chinese accepted the Bilal Karimi. The Americans, they are also planning to open their embassy inside Afghanistan. So Indians, they have shown their presence in Afghanistan with the recent visits of JP Singh. He visited Afghanistan last year. This year also he met Muttaqi Saab as well as Ashraf Ghani. The technical team, the so-called technical team inside Afghanistan, the Indians, but there is a full-fledged embassy the Taliban, they have allowed the Indians to resume with the project earlier suspended, and they have earmarked 200 crore rupees for the development of Afghanistan. And at the same time, there are elements within the Afghan Taliban like Satakzai, Sher Muhammad Abbas Satakzai, an Indian military commission officer, who facilitated the talks between Taliban and the Indian authorities. So the presence is of the Indians is also there. At the same time, the Russians, the concern of Russians with the presence of Islamic State is also there. So that probably the as I said, the General Kurila has said previously that he said before these attacks of the Moscow attack, he highlighted that the Islamic State has the capability to strike United States, European countries in next 6 months without giving a warning. So that actually happened in Moscow. So they have the capability. So no, there is a great game. The game, as highlighted, this is a game of the national interest. Chinese development, Chinese presence inside Pakistan is a threat to some of the world countries. So therefore, they don't want to see another corridor being developed for China, linking Western China with Gwadar becoming a hub. So that is one of the factors. They don't want to see the development inside Pakistan, the welfare of Pakistani people. So therefore, they have the proxies. At the same time, they also don't want to see Afghanistan a stable country. They want they should remain unstable.
It serves their purpose.
It serves their purpose. So that is a great game going on. We understand who could be the beneficiaries of attacking Chinese. So that is the valid, certainly valid question. And so we as a Pakistanis, we have to serve our national interest. That is very important.
All right, I totally understand that. At the same time, I'd just like to add something that Vedant Patel also said. He said that they were in regular communication with Pakistani leaders to discuss Afghanistan in detail, including through our counter-terrorism dialogue and other bilateral consultations. So this has been said on record. So let's hope that the US comes on board with Pakistan to join the counter-terrorism efforts to root out such militancy. But coming to the Defence Minister again, and I'd like Shah Sahib to give me some elaboration on that. He describes the complexity of the border situation. I'm coming back to the border situation. He said it was different from the traditional international borders. He says Pakistan will have to enforce all international laws and traditions on this border, and the traffic of terrorists will have to be stopped. Travel facilities can be continued through passport and visas. You know, some measures have recently been taken as far as that is concerned. What more stringent measures could be taken as far as the facilitation of the public to and from Afghanistan is concerned, to A, check on such elements, B, hinder such activities?
Quite recently, the Secretary of Commerce visited Afghanistan and held a dialogue where this visa policies and one document policy was discussed. And both the governments have agreed, especially for the drivers of the transit train, that they would be one document. So it means that the visa policy would be there, the passport. Otherwise, in past, there used to be a red pass, which used to be issued by a special branch in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So now, it's the passport. And in Peshawar, in particular, the Afghan embassies, there is always a very long queue line.
True.
Issuing visas, whosoever wants to visit Afghanistan. Similarly, so while issuing from the Pakistan perspective a visa, we have a very elaborate system consisting of the intelligence agencies, which vets, verifies, and after that the visa is issued and the documents issues. So again, here the role of the intelligence operatives is very, very important. Why? that no person in the under the garb of trade or other activity may gain ingress within Pakistan with the purpose to carry out terrorism. So we have to improve our information system as far as the movement across the border is concerned, this side or that side. So if we have better information system, then we can control these things.
Okay, I'd like to highlight a bit more on this, but we have to go to a little break. We'll be right back after, and we'll discuss a lot of other elements concerning the border and other situations regarding Afghanistan and TTP. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and of course we're discussing TTP Afghanistan and its non-compliance with Pakistan as far as the intrusion of such militant outfits into Pakistani soil is concerned. We were discussing with Salman, Javed, Afghan affairs expert, and we'll go right back to him. Salman, our defense minister said that he visited Afghanistan in February 2023, and he said that he had told the Taliban ministers not to let the banned Tehreek-e-Taliban, Pakistan's past favors that they had given play in the hands of the current Afghan interim government. If they, I'm quoting what he said, if they, TTP, have done you a favor and you are grateful to them, then control them. Don't let them start a war with us while living in your country and you become their ally. He also said force is the last resort. We do not want to have an armed conflict with Afghanistan. I'm referring to what happened on the 18th. Where Pakistan carried out intelligence-based anti-terror operations in the border regions inside of Afghanistan. What has been the geostrategic significance of this statement and of this operation?
Like I said earlier, that nothing is happening in isolation. Pakistan is not a country which would, go irrational overnight. There is a streak of engagements that Pakistan carried out with Afghanistan, starting right from August 2021, when Taliban took over the Afghan interim government and formulated the Afghan interim government. This was a very high-powered delegation which you are referring to, that Khwaja Asif, DJISI, and some other officials were accompanying them. And they were trying to, have a dialogue with the Afghan government, Afghan interim government, to settle down this issue, because this is one-point agenda which is harming the relations between Pakistan and Afghanistan. And like we discussed earlier, that Pakistan actually gave them a breathing space when they formed up the interim government. Pakistan not only engaged with them, but also gave them a breathing space in terms of carrying out the transit trade through Pakistan. Like Shah Sahab earlier mentioned that we were operating 2 passes, Chaman and Turkham, and there was Ghulam Khan, but we actually opened 3 more passes, functioned them, and allowed them to carry out this trade through Pakistan, so that they could have a kind of semblance of peace and prosperity in their region, in their country. But what happened in reaction was that they did not respond to Pakistan's request and plea, and kept on harboring these terrorists over there, kept on safeguarding them, and like we mentioned earlier, that they also maintained this plausible deniability that they are not been present over there and this is Pakistan's internal problem. So Pakistan was obviously left with no choice and had to carry out this surgical strike, cross-border strike on the hideouts of TTP. And this was not the first strike. Pakistan also carried out a strike earlier in, I think, 2022 as well, April 2022. And this was the second strike that Pakistan carried out this time. And this was a strike which carried out across the border on multiple locations. So this was the kind of message that Pakistan is now going to use this deterrence if there will be a high-profile attack inside Pakistan. So this is one thing. So there is a geopolitical implication to this matter. The other thing is that Afghan interim government, if they will not listen to Pakistan, and if they will not, like you mentioned, we were talking off record while coming back to this show, that Pakistan, if they will go to, Pakistan will have to resort to this option that Pakistan will close down all these border options, then probably this will harm Pakistan as well in terms of transit trade and the benefit that Pakistan is getting from this. But Afghanistan will have to, suffer a lot, because for a reason I know that they collected a hefty amount from this transit trade, through the custom that they've been imposed on the borders, and they issued their first fiscal budget of $320 billion Afghani rupee through this revenue. So if this transit trade will be stopped, what will the Afghan government will be going to do about it?
All right. That's interesting.
I'll add something one more. They recently went to Chabahar. They talked about investing $35 million over there in the development of Chabahar along with Iran. But I was talking with some Afghan analysts and also some Afghan officials as well, and according to them, that the assessment they have carried out at Chabahar, it is not feasible for them with regard to trade and transit elements.
All right. Brigadier Saab, according to a security report that was issued by the Center for Research and Security Studies, Pakistan experienced 97 militant attacks in February, resulting in 87 fatalities, 118 injuries. Of course, violence in Balochistan, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is what is the crux of it all. Then in 2023, 1,524 violence-related fatalities and 1,463 injuries from 789 terror attacks and counter-terror operations in 2023. And of course, again, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan are the primary centers of violence. Why these two provinces are being targeted? Is it because they are easily accessible through the borders from Afghanistan, or is there some other thing at play?
First of all, before taking over of Afghanistan by Afghan Taliban, there were 86% reduction of terrorist activities in Pakistan. And in 2020, there were 49 terrorist attacks. Right from 15 August 2021, there was a surge of attacks. It rose from 49 to 200 and subsequent to 300 and above. And most probably last year it was about 357 terrorist attacks. One thing is clear, that is the proximity of these two provinces of Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. They share the 2,611 kilometers of long border. So it is humanly not possible, although we have fenced the almost 90% of the border, but still there are places which is not being fenced because of the disputes or the giant of the villages across the other side of the border. And at the same time, we have seen, and there have been reports, the fence was negotiated by the terrorists, and they tried to make their way inside Pakistan. So that is the factor. Then the facilitator inside the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan is also one of the factors, and that's why they are basically carrying out attacks inside Pakistan. And at the same time, that despite the fact we have highlighted the presence, the height also of Afghan TTP inside Afghanistan, but as we have discussed, there no action that has been taken. But brunt of attacks still being closer to the border, as Hafiz Gul Bahadur, when he went to Afghanistan, in 2014, he was lodged in Khost. So most of the terrorist TTP elements, they are basically living in Nuristan, in Kunar, in Khost, Paktika, and going down south to the Zabul, Helmand and Kandahar. So they are living closer to the borders. So it is easy for them to basically cross over to Pakistan and subsequently carry out these terrorist attacks.
All right. Last two questions. We are a bit short of time. Would have loved to keep you for one more hour because there's such an interesting discussion that is going on. Shah Saab, the Foreign Office spokesperson says early this month we will continue to engage with Afghanistan so that we are able to defeat these terror groups and the threat that they pose to Pakistan and to the friendship between Pakistan and Afghanistan, saying the channel of communications between the two countries remain open. She also said that a Pakistani proposal for jointly confronting terrorism had been on the negotiating table for quite some time, but it has not had the response from Afghanistan. But the spokesperson also has avoided ruling out the possibility of future strikes within Afghanistan. She says, and I quote, "We will take any action in any direction, dialogue or otherwise, depending on the situation that arises." Do you think the message has been sent?
You see, in international relations, I would say, and even the administration, in order to preserve peace, at times you have to use the policy of carrot and stick. Not only stick, not always only carrot. So here we are using also the stick, that in future
All right.
Strikes cannot be ruled out.
So of course,
But at the same time, we are also also maintaining the channel of diplomacy. So the message is very clear.
Work with us as, you know, limit the activities.
Under the hard pursuit, right of hard pursuit.
Okay, okay. Last question, Salman. I want a one phrase answer. We are very, very short of time. Is there a working relationship between TTP, BLA and other such Baloch outfits? B, do you feel that there is a nexus of such militant outfits that is gaining ground in Balochistan as well?
If there is one string puller, then there is definitely a nexus. And we all know who is the string puller. And we all know who has avoided naming them in the SEO organization, like Brigadier mentioned.
Okay.
So
all right. Thank you so very much to all three of you, Brigadier Masud Khan Saab, Dr. Syed, Akhtar, Shah Saab, and Salman Javed, to have joined us and to have discussed Afghanistan at length. We would have had more time. We would have discussed even more. But nevertheless, it was a very interesting discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you got the perspective as far as Pakistan's point of view on Afghanistan and on such militant outfits is concerned. We will continue to curb their activities and will go to any extent to do that. Allah Hafiz.